are streaming this live for the Sport Management Club, and we are also recording it for future use. But this is our Sports Management Club Lunch and Learn, we're calling it. So if you have lunch with you, go ahead and eat. It's okay. I don't have an issue with that. But I wanted to bring some students on from Sports Management Club. Oh, hold on. I have to mute this. I have to mute the live because I don't want to hear it as I'm talking. So what we have done is Kyle, in his infinite wisdom as the Sports Management Club president, has helped me bring a few people on that can speak to their experiences, both as a student and as a budding professional. Each one of these students has either graduated already. There are 2 graduates in here. And I think we have 2 students currently. Is that correct, Kyle?
That's correct.
Okay. Other than you, obviously, you'll be the 3rd. So I will start. I will introduce these students, and they will talk about their experiences. Okay, so far, both as a student and as a budding professional in the industry, as someone who has gotten field experiences and internships and things like that. You've already heard from Kyle, which Kyle is your everyday. These 4 are not your everyday. And Kyle and Michael, they are both our graduates. Kyle Mechelin and Michael Taco are both graduates of our program. They will appear, if you would like, go ahead and say something about yourself. Let's start with Kyle. Go ahead and say something about yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're wanting to do.
Sure. So my name is Kyle Michelin. I'm 22 years old. I was actually a transfer student to IUPUI. So I came in my junior year. Never been to Indiana before. Grew up in California my whole life. I met Kyle Clay. He's one of my roommates when I lived there, and I got introduced to the club. And I won't go too much into the club yet, but it's a huge part of why I really enjoyed my time and was able to develop as a professional in the industry the way I did at IUPUI.
And now we will move to Michael Taco. Talk a little bit about who you are, Michael, and move forward.
All right, I'm Michael Taco. I am 25 years old, graduated last December. I was a transfer student as well. I came in August 2017 with 0 sports experience, and I left 2 years later with a ton of it. So that's all thanks to SMC and the connections. So then I met Kyle Clay just from working at the Indians, and he became my golfing partner and Fortnite partner, along with Sherman. And then he's now the best man at my wedding, and Kyle is my groomsman.
So you've got some connections here between the Kyles and Michael. And now we'll move to our current students. First, we've got Keegan McLean. Keegan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Keegan. I'm a sophomore here at IUPUI. I grew up in Greencastle, which is about an hour away from Indy, so I'm pretty close to home, but also far enough away. I hope to work in the NHRA when I'm done with this, and through Sport Management Club, I've already got one job out there right now.
All right. Thank you, Keegan. And our last one is the vice president of the Sports Management Club, and she is now a sophomore or junior, whatever her credit hours put her at, I don't know, is Kenzie Watts. Kenzie, tell us a little about yourself.
So yes, I'm academically a junior. I am also vice president of Sports Management Club. Sports Management Club has gotten me a lot of opportunities. I grew up in Plainfield, Indiana, which is literally 15 minutes from campus. Get on 70, you're right there. I don't really know what I want to do with my degree yet, but definitely something in marketing or social media content. I ran the social media for the girls and boys basketball team last year, and then I also helped do stats for the soccer team with IUPUI Athletics.
Yes, she has gotten plenty of experiences, and I have seen her at plenty of games. All right, so Kyle Clay, you can help me with this, okay? Which means you need to unmute for a minute. You can help me with this, and let's help redirect. So each person on this panel, okay, you can be my moderator for a moment and start asking them questions about what experiences they had, things like that. And I'll let you guys handle it. And then I'll be looking for any questions. And if you have questions, pop them in the chat if you want to. They might be easier to do.
All righty. Well, I was just thrown on the spot here, so I'm just going to improv this. But we'll start off with, our two oldest ones, especially Pap up there. So what are like some experiences that, especially you, Kyle, in like the year and a half you were here, however long, like what kind of experiences did you have, and like what was your like most favorite or best event that you participated in through SMC?
I can start that. Through SMC, the best event I worked was the Champions Classic. That was kind of a rare one because it's like the unofficial opener of college basketball. And it's Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, and Michigan State. And in 2018, it just happened to be in Indy. And through SMC, Dr. Sherman was looking for like the top performers, like the ones he could trust, the ones that volunteered the most, put the most effort out there, and I was one, and so was Kyle. We were one of, I think, 10, 15 people that we got to do team host, on court duties, some social media stuff like that. And it was just kind of cool it was like the big event, and it's on my resume now, and people still ask me about it. Then another event that was pretty cool every year that's cool is a Big Ten football championship, because you're getting, it's like the one of the biggest games of the season, Power Five conference of Big Ten. Everyone's coming to Indy, the sports capital of the world, and we had to do Fan Fest, has a bunch of different activities in the what my mind just blanket, whatever that building's called next to.
The convention center?
Yeah, that building, that kind of famous building. So different activities, get to meet a whole bunch of different fans, not just around the state or the two schools I represent, but kind of around the country because they want to come to Indy and see this giant game. And usually it's a game that's on the line for a college football playoff spot. So through SMC, we get to do that pretty much every single year, and through Indiana Sports Corp. So those two are definitely the favorite that I got to do in the last 3 years.
Kyle?
Okay. I'll jump in now if that's cool, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna piggyback off Taco. Big Ten football was my absolute favorite event that I volunteered for when I was with Sport Management Club. Last year, I got the privilege of being a Fan Fest zone captain, so I got to manage like an entire section of volunteers as a volunteer, which was an awesome experience. And like a month later, I was the volunteer coordinator intern for Sports Corp. So that was like an awesome way for me to like ease my way into that role, and learn how to communicate and lead a group of volunteers. Yeah, that event was awesome. We did rally towel distribution. I think I was there 48 hours straight. It felt like rally towel distribution the night before, Fan Fest day of, and then we were supposed to do ticketing. And I was so sick that I actually almost passed out when we were starting to do some of the ticketing help, and I got sent home. So, I mean, that was just a funny memory, but it was so awesome. Those events too, you get to go with your whole group of friends and the whole club. And I think it's a really good way to like build your community and get really strong relationships, because networking is important, but networking with your classmates, like those are all people going into the industry too. It's just as important. Making those connections is just as important.
Nice. And then Kenzie and Keegan, as freshmen last year, you heard me talk about SMC. So first, what did you like expect from SMC? And then at the end of your freshman year, what did you get from SMC, like experience-wise, career-wise, and stuff like that?
I would say it helped me a lot because I like to do things. So like I am a huge go-getter. I love to be busy. I love like any opportunity that comes, I love to take because I hate free time. I hate just sitting around. I don't like to be lazy and all that stuff. But I would say basically I got to meet a lot of people like through speaker series. And I know I have a picture personally with Randy Lewandowski, who, Sherman, you're going to have to correct me. I don't even remember. He's something, I always get confused if he's owner, president.
President and general manager.
Okay, president of the Indians. So I have a picture with him, which is super cool because a lot of people can't say that they've met and talked to personally someone who's like that famous. So that was pretty cool. But I would say also like volunteer events were always fun. You didn't ask me what my favorite one was. I had a good time at the Pacers 5K because me and my best friend Grant, we got to hand out medals and water, and it was really, really fun. And it was a good way to meet new people. That's another reason I loved it. But I would just say I definitely got a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten because I wouldn't have been able to get myself those opportunities without sports management club.
Okay, I agree with like what Kenzie was saying about how like she can't sit still. I'm kind of that way too. So SMC really like gave me opportunities to like just go and like do something, like whether it's the volunteering or whatever. It's just like you're going and doing something. You're not sitting and being lazy, and it's super fun, the stuff you do. My favorite event, just because I want to talk about mine too, was the NCAA warehousing. It was a super like, it gave you just like a behind the scenes of anything that goes on leading up to all of March Madness. Like what did we do? We filled backpacks with stuff for each of the teams to get when they get there. We sorted out luggage tags for each team. Like each team got 10 for this round and then this round. And it was just really interesting to see all the stuff behind the scenes. And I thought it was really fun. Also, another thing SMC's really helped me with is with the whole connections thing. My connection just with Kyle alone, he reached out to me about a job out at Lucas Oil Raceway. And so I sell tickets there right now. It's kind of boring, ticket sales there, I won't lie, but it is a good starting place for wanting to go further.
Great. Those are all phenomenal answers. Now I'm going to throw one at you from the chat. So these are for the graduates, Kyle and Michael. If you could give your freshman self some advice, what would it be?
I can jump in and answer this one first. My thing, I didn't start out as a sport management major. I was in the transfer process when I picked it out. I think obviously it's be flexible with what you're doing and try to understand what it is you're doing and what parts of it you enjoy and don't like. Because you have to have some sort of idea of how you want to come out with your degree and what your goals are. And just being really aware of what you're doing, things that you are enjoying in your classes and your volunteer experiences. That's like, I think that is so key to having a really like good college experience in terms of professional and educational development. Because if you're not into what you're doing, there's no point in doing it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I was a transfer student as well, but when I got here, I was a freshman just because I didn't have that experience. And I think for me, what got me to where I am now is I was just confident in myself and I reached out to people. I wasn't afraid to ask questions. Even if I got turned down, the worst answer they can say is no. So I remember the first thing I did was at like the weeks of welcome, the basketball team was there with our athletic director, Dr. Perry, and I just went up to him, my basic resume that I had, and I said I introduced myself. I said I'd love to volunteer any games, and he had me come in to talk to him and a few others. I volunteered for a month, turned to a job. And then same with Indy 11, and Kyle Clay works there as well. We actually started at the same time. Started volunteers when they were still playing at Carroll, and then did well there. And then when like in January of 18, they told us, "Hey, we're going to start playing at Lucas Oil Stadium. We'd like you to come back. We're going to do a tour. Oh, also by the way, we're now going to pay you." So that's another job just from volunteering. And then it also just like Kyle said, do anything and everything you can. You're not going to find out what you truly like or what you love without going through it. And you'll have some good experience, you'll have some bad experiences, but you never know until you try it. So that's pretty much it. Just try anything and everything. You'll have the long hours, you'll get up early, you'll stay up late, but you won't know until you try it. And then everything you do as a freshman or sophomore is going to set you up for a junior, senior.
All right, if I can.
Yeah, Kyle, before you talk, I'm going to tell the story of Michael. So I had a career panel in my intro class, and he walked up to every person on the panel, shook their hand, took their business card, and gave them his resume, every single one of them. And they all came up to me afterward and went, "Who is that guy?" And I said, "Honestly, I don't know, because I haven't really talked to him all that much." So I talked to him after that and found out, that's kind of a gutsy thing to do, right? It doesn't happen often, but they remembered him. Go ahead, Kyle.
Again, just with like the panels and then people in your classes, like definitely just to go off what Taco said, like you got to open up, like everyone who's coming in on a panel is there because they want to help students and reach out and make that connection. And then all your classmates and all the club members are so great and like so welcoming. Coming in as a transfer student, never been to Indiana, like making the connections with the club and getting to know everyone in the club was so important for me to be able to enjoy my time at IUPUI.
And like what you said with those connections, like I have friends now that I made through the club and IUPUI that they're pretty much at every team in the city, and there's even some that are out of state. So I can easily text them like, "Hey, I saw there's a job posting. Could you put a good word in for me?" And then bam, you're already foot in the door. So it's as simple as just making friends with people.
So the next question that I have is for each one of you is, so with this whole pandemic and everything changing, right? How would you suggest students respond to that? They're obviously not able to get the field experiences that you guys were able to right now. It'll likely happen in the coming months and year. But how would you, I guess, what advice would you give them now to prepare for what might be coming, or what, how do they keep going without anything happening? It
I
doesn't
can
matter
start.
who's.
I
Okay.
can start with that one.
Okay.
So I would just say just try to find any little thing you can do. There's some small events that are still going on. There might not be the big time ones, but so like a local 5K might be going on next weekend, or it might be like at Grand Park right now with bullpen tournaments, the baseball side, they're doing tournaments. They have a month left of it. You can easily, you can reach out to me, then I give you their contact. You can say, hey, I'd be interested in working. And there's just try to find, do some research, reach out to others, see if you can find little things you can do that can start building that foundation. So that way, in the next coming months, in the next year, when things really open back up, instead of being one of those that just sat around that don't have any experience now, you even if you just like pass out water cups at a race, the fact that you were there, you can hype yourself up a little bit with that, but the fact that you had that experience, you're gonna be a step forward than someone else.
I would start by saying don't give up on anything. I know this year is so different, but like the difference between last year and this year is black and white. I mean, this may seem very boring right now because we are all over Zoom and not getting to volunteer. But like last year, I had something probably every weekend. Like I got to go volunteer, I got to go meet people, I got to even like hang out with my friends. I literally met my best friend in the club and we hung out even at the event. So I would say just do not give up just because things are very hard right now. It's very like even from a mental health standpoint, definitely just like keep pushing through because once you guys get to these like volunteer opportunities or like start to have an idea of what you want to do so you can go toward that field, it's so much fun. And I know it's hard to hear that from me over a computer screen, but like you just have to get out and have that experience for yourself, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree with what both Kenzie and Michael said, especially with taking what you can get. Anytime you see something, really take it because, we're all getting cabin fever too. So as long as you can, if there's something going on and you're available, just do it. Like it'll make you feel better because you got some experience and because you're not in your house anymore. And like I didn't even think I was going to get to work out at the drag strip this year. I applied back in like January and it was supposed to start in March. And as soon as it started, it got shut down. So now that we're open back up, anytime I can work, I'm taking it, getting what I can get while it's there.
And then I'll jump in. there are a lot of great online resources that have kind of emerged that weren't really there when I was even, when I was in college under 6 months ago. There have been so many online panels that I think you guys might have more access now to people across the country to hear their experiences in the sports industry. The Warriors had, I think, like a week-long panel. Indiana Sports Corp, I think it seems like they're doing one every week about some of the plans that they've had to do, making their events work through COVID. There are a lot of resources, and maybe it's not, a resume builder the way that a volunteer experience is, but there's still so much learning experience, and maybe it's something that you can bring up in an interview still if the question comes around to it. LinkedIn's a great way to find a lot of those. If you guys aren't already on LinkedIn, I would really recommend it. And you can feel free to send me a connection request too. And I'm sure Kyle Clay, Michael Taco, everybody would be happy.
Dr. Sherman was on one of those panels, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I was on July 29th, and it's been used as an assignment, an intro to sport management. They have to watch it,
There we
which
go.
it was interesting because I was in the bubble, so which
And
kind of
then
changed
also-
everything.
And what Kyle said about the learn experiences, earlier, I think it's back in June, I saw a thing on LinkedIn actually from Florida Atlantic University. They had a $900 certificate in hospitality and event management that they were giving away for free. So I just got on the wait list and I got approved, and it took me I had like 14 different sections I had to do, but I mean, it was just videos and like a 10-question quiz I had to do for each one, but it took me about a month to do it, and now I have an actual certificate they emailed me that I get to put on my resume now. It's just something like that. You just find that you're heavily discounted, or in that case, I got lucky, it was free, but just keep looking, and LinkedIn's the best place to look.
That's what we dub professional development. As you get ready to go through and make your career choice and what you want to do, the professional development side is going to help you in a lot of ways. Another question came in from the class. Have there been moments where your guys' confidence was shaken or you had doubts? And if so, how did you deal with those bumps in the road?
I will for sure start with that because that's currently what I'm going through right now as a graduate looking for a job, because there's nothing out there right now full time. So, I mean, every time I get interviewed, they say, "Oh, we like your experience. Let's talk." And then they'll say, "Oh, we found someone a little more experience." And every single time it's kind of like a gut punch. But I just feel the moment, just kind of go through it, deal with the emotions, and then just get back on the high horse and look for something else. And then I got to a point where I actually reached out to Grand Park and them because I worked there before, and just asked, "Hey, are you still hiring this job?" And they said, "Yeah, let's talk about it." And then after a week, they said, "Hey, we'd like to bring you back." So it's not ideal, but I'm there. And I think that's how you have to look at it. Just while it can be damaging, just kind of go through the emotions that you have. Don't let it just sit in you because you're going to regret it later. And then just make a decision, find something that can work for now that can also work for you later.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to what Michael was saying. It's been a little tough graduating and COVID and all that. Obviously, the sports industry isn't in full swing at the moment. But I'll talk about when I actually got to IUPUI. I was transferring as a junior. I knew that sports management was what I was passionate about. I spent a lot of time researching the programs and what it looked like. But I just didn't know what it looked like to be successful in the industry. And I got there and I got to the first meeting, and I'm a junior, and there were freshmen and sophomore with so much more volunteer experience and work experience in the industry. And I was like, what am I even doing here? I'm so far behind. I'm a junior. I'm going to play catch up the whole time. Like Kyle Clay had like 70 volunteer hours in his freshman year. I was like, I haven't done any of that. And the thing is we're all going through it at our own pace. Like you have to understand that you can't, like, you can compare yourself to others, but it doesn't necessarily help. You just have to do what you can to help yourself take the next step. And that was definitely a process for me to figure out because I felt so rattled when I was in the classes. I felt completely like a fish out of water, but I just took little steps. I volunteered where I could. And I think I finished with like 60 or 70 volunteer hours and 3 or 4 jobs in the sports industry in 2 years. Like it's always doable. You just need to take the steps that you got to take.
And where did you end your career?
With Indiana Sports Corp during the Big Ten tournament. We got halfway through it, almost made it.
Almost made it. I know it was a pretty rough time this past spring. So what about you
Yeah.
guys? Keegan, Kenzie, you're going through it now. What about you guys? Have you had some things that have kind of shook you up, and how have you dealt with them?
I would say I struggled a lot because I knew that I wanted to go to school for like something for business because I actually worked in marketing in high school. I was the marketing person for a pool company here in Plainfield, but I also struggled because I didn't know if that was necessarily what, like, I went through my whole first year and this like COVID hit, and because I like to cook. I'm very big into culinary arts. Me and Sherman bond over it, but I thought like maybe I should stop being a sports management major. Maybe I should go and be, try to be a chef, be a private chef, whatever. But the thing is that when you guys have the like living in Indy and going to school in Indy, I don't think we really understand the advantage that we have. So I would say like you have like when your confidence is down and stuff, you have to understand where you guys are sitting. Like I know a lot of you are at home, but like we have sports teams at our fingertips, unlimited sports teams. You can volunteer, work for like whoever you want. We have Indy Sports Corp, who is absolutely amazing working with us. I mean, they give us opportunities out the wazoo, but I would say like to deal with the bumps in the road, really like step back and look where you're actually at. Even event like your event tourism or event and tourism, I can't talk. I'm sorry. Majors. I would say just being in Indy alone kind of boosted my confidence because I do have friends at Ball State and IU that are also in sports management. And you know where they work? The football team. That's all they have. They don't have opportunities like we do. So I would just say like definitely just step back and realize how blessed we all really are to be going to school at IUPUI.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, Kenzie. I feel like the only thing I really can think of immediately where my confidence was shaken was when I went into Bankers Life Fieldhouse and started being on their conversion crew. Because I walked in and I was the only girl. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can do this. Like, did they realize I was a girl? Like, did they not realize I was a girl? Because I mean, I've got Keegan, it's a predominantly male name. So like that could have happened. But I was like, okay. And I was like a little stressed, but it ended up being like one of the best work environments I've worked in. Everyone's very accepting. It's a very fun job. It's long hours, but you get used to it. But I don't know why I thought I think it was just because I was the only girl. Like I didn't think I could help lift a giant piece of the Pacers court, but I can because there's 4 of us. So we all pick up each other's slack. So it ended up not being as nerve-wracking once I got into it after that first shift.
That's it. So I've only got 2 questions, huh? Nobody else has any questions that have popped into their head?
Can I give a quick plug real quick, Dr. Shorm?
Oh, of course.
No,
Michael.
just for all the women that feel like maybe, in a male driven industry, I would give a shout out to Rachel Lohman. Reach out to her on LinkedIn or any social media. Like she's probably the ultimate professional and ultimate like supporter for women in sports. So I mean, she pretty much have kept the women's soccer leagues and the WNBA alive. She goes to every game, works all the events there. So reach out to her on LinkedIn. She's Rachel Lohman. She's currently a grad student right now. So yeah, there's my quick plug for her.
I would also jump in and say, like, that is another thing. That was a good question about the confidence thing because I did walk into Bridge and it's all guys. Like, all of my best friends from this major are guys. I mean, other than Keegan and Taylor, I think those are my only 2 girlfriends I made. But I would say, like, don't get discouraged because you are a woman because Sherman, like Megan Barr reached out to him because she's going on maternity leave. He picked me for I was one of the students he reached out to for the internship. And then we had Ed, the athletic director, he needed someone. Oh, it's me. Like, they don't look at gender here. I've noticed that a lot. I don't know how it is in the industry right now, but I know IUPUI alone, from being a female, I have not felt neglected. I have not felt like they have not chosen me because I am a female. Quite honestly, I think it's just like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's what your skill set is. It's what you're good at. So that is another thing about confidence, is if you are a female, don't let it get you down, because here there's no gender. It's not a thing.
And I'll echo that by adding to it and saying that it's also your interests. You know, if I see that somebody's interested in something specific and somebody hits me up for something specific, I'm going to say, hey, this person wants this. So guess what? I'm going to call them. And either you get it or you don't, one of the two, you know, and or you want it or you don't, one of the two. So, you know, make sure, that's what I was talking about early on, was communicating with us. You know, communicate with me and let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Because if you hit the right note, who knows what can happen, right? So I'm going to ask you guys a question, since I haven't had any drop in yet. I'm hoping that more will drop some in. Okay. But so you've talked about your favorite experiences, and what about those experiences? So a couple of you said Big Ten, a couple of you said Champions Classic, that sort of thing. What was it about those events that made you, not the stature of the event, but just all of it in general? What was the role, whether it be the role, whether it be who you were working with, things like that? What was it that made that your favorite event?
I'll go ahead and start. I'll go Big Ten, since that's one that's every year compared to Champions Classic, which could be every few years. Favorite part, I mean, it's just being with the fans. You get to see that excitement that people have for the game. You get to see the fan bases go at each other, and I mean, it's the magnitude of it. It's that feeling of you're working a big event, so you want to like work harder. You want to perform better because you know it's high stakes. And uh, for me, working in sports, the best part is dealing with the fans, because like it keeps you on your toes. You get to, it's not just an office job where you go in Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and just people sitting down on a computer miserable all day. Like you get to see people have fun. You get to see kids live out their like baseball dreams, like I do at bullpen tournaments at Grand Park. You get to see these like this family of a Ohio State player, like a freshman that was like just a year ago he was a freshman. Now he's playing in Indy for a chance to go to college football playoff, and you get to talk with them. So you get to provide a better experience for people to have fun. It's kind of like each event, treat it like the Disneyland of for that event, to where it's like a one-time thing, provide the best experience for others, and that's pretty much it.
I would say the reason I like just any volunteer event is you don't really get treated like volunteers. A lot of times volunteers will be at, you're the lowest and whatever, but like especially at like the corporate challenge for Indy Sports Corp, I went up to Megan Barr. I introduced myself to her. I mean, it was like 6 a.m. It was freezing. She didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk, but I did it anyway, because you have to make yourself uncomfortable sometimes to get somewhere. But like, she didn't treat me like a volunteer. She asked me questions. She sat there and talked to me when probably she didn't really have time to talk to me, but she still did. And that's why, like, that's why I like, especially volunteering, because you're not treated like the lowest, on the totem pole. You're not treated like that. You're treated like a person. You're treated with respect. I mean, sometimes they'll pull you to do some pretty major jobs when you thought you were just going to show up and hand out water. No, you're going to hold the finish line. Like, there's some serious stuff that goes on. But I would just say definitely like have a good attitude about it too. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, definitely have a good attitude, because we got stuck in the rain holding water cups one time, but if you would have been complaining about it, you just wouldn't have had a good time. You just had to suck it up and make the most of it. So you'll have that sometimes in those outdoor situations. But my favorite was the NCAA warehousing, and I really liked that one. One, because of the people I was with. It was me, Ashton, Rishi, and a bunch of other people from our bridge group. And it was just I don't know how to explain. It was just like a good environment to be in when you're doing such tedious and kind of annoying. It can be annoying, because it gets tedious, but it was so fun because it was just like you got to see this whole other side of the NCAA, and I like those behind the scenes aspects of stuff, putting the court out or packing the boxes with this, and it was just getting to touch the hangers that a player from Duke's gonna touch or something was just, I don't know, it was cool and just a whole nother side, and I don't know, it was really cool.
Yeah, I think actually I didn't mention this one earlier. It's again with the Big Ten football championship, but this was actually in my first year. It was one of the first events that I volunteered for, and it was one of my first events with Sports Management Club. And we were literally putting towels over seats for the fans. And this is the first time I'd also been around Dr. Sherman outside of class. And so we're putting him around, and this is all about the unity and like the camaraderie that you build with the people around you. Sherman is screaming at the top of his lungs, "Let's go Wildcats," because the Northwestern was the side that we're putting out purple towels for. And we were trying to get the other side to yell back at us, but it just wound up being our side just screaming, "Let's go Cats," the whole time. But like, you're putting towels out. That isn't fun. You're just putting towels out. But it was probably one of the most fun times I had with Sports Management Club. It was hilarious.
We were doing everything we could to get the people on the Ohio State side to scream, and they wouldn't do it. I was so disappointed in our members. Our side, we were all screaming it, but the other side was not yelling it back, and I made sure that they knew about it afterward too. All right, so a couple of students have dropped some other things in here for us. So Kenzie, Keegan, you know what, Kyle, Clay, you can actually interject in this one too. So how big would you say volunteering is as a first-year student? The question actually goes on to say, does it really put you ahead of the pack, right? So that's a question. How big is that as a first year to get yourself into that?
I would say it's the biggest. Like if I literally could hit on anything.
Now remember what we're enduring right now.
Yes.
Right. It might be the biggest, right? And I'll agree with you,
Yes.
but
you guys have a disadvantage, and people know that. The industry knows that because you guys aren't getting to volunteer, so they're not going to be like, they're not going to, be mad at you for not having events to volunteer at. But once you have the opportunity to do it. But I would say you have to do it because personally, this is going to sound cocky, but it did put me ahead. I do get opportunities that other people don't get because I decided to put myself out on a limb for some things. I mean, it doesn't, I don't know how to word this, because it does put you ahead because you are recognized. When you go volunteer for something, they know you're volunteering for it. Whether there's 50 people, whether there's 3 people, it doesn't matter. Your name shows up on that list. And like we did points last year for sports management. And that's something like the second that Sherman, I can't necessarily speak for you, but if he would get an email about an internship, well, who volunteered the most? Who has put the most time into this major? Who wants to get out there and do things? Who's willing to wake up at 4 a.m. on a Saturday to do the corporate challenge? Like, you have to make, like I said earlier, you have to make yourself uncomfortable.
I guess I can go. I would also say volunteering is huge. Like Kenzie said, you guys are at a little disadvantage right now, but I mean, nobody's volunteering. I mean, nothing's really happening right now, so nobody's really getting themselves ahead of you guys right now as freshmen. But I mean, freshman year, I volunteered for Indy 11, and they saw how hard I worked, and I've been an intern with them, for 3 years after that. So, volunteering can, it definitely puts you ahead. And like Kenzie said, when we need volunteers, we know who puts in the effort for the major and who's out there working and, proving to people that IUPUI is the place to get volunteers from. So you get the better volunteer experiences if you do volunteer. And like Indiana Sports Corp, once you volunteer with them once, they recognize your face, and if they're good, they invite you back and whatnot. So it's it puts you ahead, but it also, helps you more marketable, especially around the city, because everybody knows everybody in Indy. So when especially with Indiana Sports Corp, everybody knows Indiana Sports Corp, and we have a software that tells us when you volunteered and whatnot. So if somebody asks, hey, is this person, a good volunteer? They're either going to shut you down or they're going to, yeah, I forget what word I was going to say, but yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah, I think that in addition to what Kinsey and Kyle said, they really hit it on the head, really. I mean, it's very important, but don't just volunteer for what you're interested. Like, don't just only volunteer with the Colts. Volunteer across all the different leagues. Volunteer with the Indians and the Pacers and the mini marathon. Just go across the industry, because just because you think you want to work for the Colts, you might change your mind. Like, you might go volunteer with the Indians, be like, oh wow, I really like this organization and everything, and then you decide you want to be with them for the rest of your career or for a period of time. So definitely, because all the skills can cross platforms. Being able, if you learn to do something at the Indians that maybe they've been looking for someone that knows how to do that at Lucas Oil, well then you're a perfect candidate, because you helped them and you learned this, and so you would be able to go and do it with the Colts, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I don't want to tout myself, but I did help a graphic design student get a internship with the Indianapolis Indians that springboarded her to what she wanted to do, and she worked for the Nashville Predators in her hometown after taking that internship with the Indians. So, Kyle, what were you gonna say?
To add on to, like, because I mean, I didn't have any sports experience coming here, and I ended up volunteering for the Indy 500, and little did I know I was gonna have to wake up at 2 a.m. and stand in a parking lot and park cars. But being in the 500, like being at the 500, just being a part of the event really made me proud to be a part of this major, because not many people can say, hey, I was inside the track parking cars for, I think one of the cars was like Grease Monkey, the auto show on whatever auto channel there is. But I was with another student who was in SMC at the time, and, we just made the best of it. And it might not have been something that we wanted to do on a Thursday or Friday morning or Sunday morning, I guess the race is, but we made the best of it, and I can put it on my resume, and people are like, oh, you worked at the Indy 500, and tell me about it. And I can tell them all about the 500 and what I did and whatnot.
Great answers, all of them. So another question that rolled in is actually a really, really good question. And that's for people who are living at home. How do you recommend we get on campus? She says she has all online classes, and there's no real point in going to campus, which I won't disagree with that, right? If you got it all online, why go? But being on campus, she's told, helps build connections. So what do you guys have to say to that? What would you recommend? I think, Kenzie, I think you have commuted, right? Yeah. So, what kind of recommendations would you guys make from that perspective?
I would start by saying, personally, this is just me, I have not really made any connections just by going to campus necessarily, just because I did have Sherman as a teacher, so he's one connection. Kyle was also my teacher, and Jana was for my bridge, they were all my teachers. So I personally haven't made any connections if it wasn't like a SMC sponsored event. But I would say even just go for a day and work on your homework there. I have classes on Thursday nights, so I love to go eat dinner there and then go to my class. I don't really talk to anybody, but it definitely makes me feel more like a college student, because I feel like I'm not getting the experience that I should right now. That's actually something I'm really struggling with. So I would say one day, even if you live far, just make the trip and just sit in the library or sit in the campus center and just do some homework. Just watch life go by. That's kind of what I would say, because that's what's making me feel like I'm actually in college right now.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too. Just try to find a time, even if it's just some you time, just to go to campus, to get out of the house and be around other people. And because I live up the street at the Tyler, and even with my one class in person, it still just it doesn't feel like a normal college experience because it isn't. And so, just anytime you can do it. If you have any group projects and you're all within driving distance to campus, maybe meet in person for your group project. That gets you friend connections, even if they're not all sport management, or if it's like in a business class and you're all crossed over. It just gets you more connections friend wise that could help you later on.
I'll just say something, you know, I'm not really supposed to speak, but I would say use the people you know. You know, I mean, you have our FYS, you all have the same interests. Maybe, you know, just link up on campus and just like, I mean, you guys have, I mean, I know some of you have talked in person, but not all of you have talked in person, but it's also a good way to meet people. And then, you know, from those people, you meet other people. So it's kind of just like a chain reaction. Once you meet one person, then you meet, you know, two more, and then you meet four more. So the more people you get to meet, you know, the more people you're going to get to know.
Okay, so we're gonna add something, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, in my senior year, I basically lived in the natatorium, and it was a great way for me to like. That's where I made my closest friends and stuff. You know, because that's kind of where most of the upper level sports management classes are held. So you get the, you know, you get that crowd of people, especially as you get older. I noticed I had really similar people in most of my classes, and I became close with just about everybody. And so I think it happens naturally if you're trying. You know, you run into people every day, and as long as you're friendly and can make a connection, like I think that those relationships just kind of form. You know, you'll work with someone in a group project. I think I was in a group project my first year, and then one my second year, and then I was in the same family at Brocious with one student. Like you get that overlap, and like those relationships just form if you know, if you're polite and you put in the work that you need to. But I don't think that you guys need to worry too much about right now being at home. Like obviously it's a bummer missing out on that experience, but you know, COVID's gonna pass and you guys are gonna get amazing experiences, especially once sports comes back and gets full swing. Like it's gonna be awesome. Like it's just gonna take a little patience. It's something that I'm learning to deal with too, is patience and understanding when things are out of my control.
We all have trouble with patience, don't we? Another one that came in. So this one is a question that honestly I'm glad it was asked. You guys, so you have to think a little bit beyond your experiences for a moment, okay? What recommendations would you have for the tourism convention and event management students? Would you have any different recommendations for, you know, the state of the industry? Both of them are, sports and tourism are hurting right now, right? We all know that. We all know that they're trying to figure out creative ways to make it interesting during this rough time, right? But what kind of recommendations would you guys have, having been in doing it, right? And that's that age frame, you know, and experiencing the same thing right now is what these students are.
Okay, I can start because I technically am a tourism student. I also am an event management student. So I would say I haven't really gotten a lot of experience in event management, but I will speak for my friend Taylor, who is an event management student. I think she still is. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I know she had said something about like you can even like you don't have to volunteer for sports teams necessarily. Go to a hotel and work an event. Go shadow a wedding planner. Like the area that you want to be in, all it takes is an email and saying, hey, I really want to do this. I'm interested in this career field. Do you think you could help me, you know, get some volunteer opportunities? Because guess what? That wedding planner may know 10 other people that they can get you in different industries and different categories of what you guys want to do. But I haven't actually started any of my tourism classes. I think I start Jana, maybe next semester, I think. So, or this second 8 weeks, I start my second one. But I would just say definitely reach out to people and just start Googling people. Just start Googling event coordinators in Indiana, like Indianapolis, all that kind of stuff. But Yeah, I would say definitely just reach out. And even if you are a tourism student, you can still volunteer for sports teams even if you're not interested because you still get to see how the event runs.
I'll talk. I mean, even Kyle can attest to this. But working with Indiana Sports Corp, I mean, hospitality and sports, they go hand in hand. So even if you're not a huge fan of sports and in tourism, don't be afraid to volunteer with Sports Corp because I mean they have a hospitality section where they're working with the hotels and they're working with other they're working with the convention center, they're working with other venues around the city that aren't even sports related. I know for some of the events coming up, I mean there's just different parts. I mean there's volunteer opportunities in hospitality through ISC, as well as like Kenzie said, go to a hotel and work the front desk. There's numerous students in tourism who work at every hotel that's downtown, whether it's the JW or the Conrad or whatever, or go work at an event place over here. I'm not sure what the names are, but they're over here by Lucas Oil. And there's always events going on in those. I mean, events are starting to pick up now. So, I mean, there's weddings, there's meetings. So just get involved. There's tons of options. And like I said, Kyle can attest to the hospitality side that it goes hand in hand with sports and Indiana Sports Corp here in Indy.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, when I was planning or helping to plan for the NCAA Division I swim and dive championship, there was a whole section of volunteers that were for hospitality. But I will say those are positions typically when you get into hospitality and that type of things that you kind of need to be a trusted volunteer to even be offered them. A lot of times they're not posted to the public. So that's where volunteering is good no matter what you're doing. It shows that you're willing to put your time in for free to learn, which is always a very strong thing to have on your resume. So volunteering to get started, and then you can make those connections and get into the areas of volunteering that you think is more relevant to your field. Sports is an event, there's hospitality, there's business on every side of it. If you volunteer, you can get to the area that you want to get to volunteer in eventually.
All right. And one more question came in, and I'm guessing this might be the last one, unless people decide to say, "Hey, I just thought of something." So this goes to the question of LinkedIn. Okay. We talk about connections being important in sport, and it's not just in sport, it's in every industry. Connecting with the right people at the right time can help you get in places that you never thought you'd get to before. So it's not just here, it's also in tourism, it's also in business, it's also in graphic design, it's also in engineering, right? You run into the right people, you meet the right people, things can happen, right? But how do you feel like with your LinkedIn? Do you think in a way that LinkedIn can be a make or break proposition? You know, you do your profile, you connect with some people, and I guess from then on, are you active? How are you active, and how can it be a make or break situation? What do you guys think?
I think LinkedIn, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as make or break, but it's definitely up there close enough because, and I think Dr. Pierce always used to call me like Mr. LinkedIn because I would post all the time. But I mean, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to show people that you are active. Like every place you volunteer, work at, try to take at least one picture, whether that's with you in it or just a picture of like the logo, whatever, just to show and do like some clever little post so that way people know what you learned from it, how you enjoyed it, and that you actually did do something. Just keep working on that, keep updating it constantly. So that way, when people are looking for jobs, I get LinkedIn notifications all the time saying someone viewed your profile or this did that. I mean, people are looking, and LinkedIn is where they're going to look at first, unless it's a direct connection within the organization. So, I mean, it's really important just stay up to date with that. And that's where you can, if you find industry or specific part that you want to be in, you can look up who does that, send them a quick message and just introduce yourself, say that you're a student, you want to get to know more about, can I meet with you for a little bit? Or I guess now, can we do a Zoom call? But The worst they can say is no. And people, they want to help students out the most. That's like, they're not going to say no to a student unless you're just crazy busy. Even if it's for 15, 30 minutes, they get to talk to you, you show interest, then that's a connection you made. Then you just keep talking to them. Then maybe down the road, they say, hey, I have something that I need help with. This person talked to me, asked me about it. Maybe I can get him some experience. And yeah, it builds up from the time you make your LinkedIn, make a post to the time you make those connections. Just everything, it's like a foundation, just keeps going up.
I'll add on to that. I don't think LinkedIn would break you. There are a few things that will break you. One of those is social media, and one of those is having a bad looking resume. So just be careful, like what you're posting on social media and stuff, because coming from a family that has a mom that's in charge of HR, that's the first thing they look at is social media, besides your resume. So just be mindful about what you're posting on there, because even if it's deleted, nothing's ever gone. And that'll shut you down pretty quickly anywhere with any job. But also a bad looking resume. I know you guys probably don't have that big of a resume right now. And you'll eventually get through that. But I don't think LinkedIn's gonna break you. It definitely gives you a path to meeting new people and seeing what other people are doing in the sports industry and tourism industry, and just seeing what is happening. But I don't think it's gonna break you. But definitely be careful of the things that for sure will break you.
Yeah, just to jump in really quick off the social media thing. I know it's a little off the question, but when I started with Indiana Sports Corp, like one of the first things the marketing director talked to the interns about was like, you need to be aware of what you're posting on social media, and you can't really, like, if you're bad mouthing like partner organizations and you're an employee of that company, like that is a complete no-go, and that is going to get you into trouble and kind of make it hard for you to keep those relationships alive. So yeah, just think twice before you post.
Yeah, I would say LinkedIn can't really, I'm with Kyle when it can't really break you unless you're stupid enough to post something inappropriate. Like, it's not a social media site. That's not how this works. You do not post, you can post with your friends, and because you want people to keep up with you, but you don't need to go out to a party and post about it on LinkedIn. That's not how it works. And I would say I'm not like, we did LinkedIn freshman year, but I'm not like super active on it, so I don't have a lot of opinions. I probably will get there eventually, but definitely post everything. They want you to post. They want to see that you are active on it, even if it has nothing to do with sports and you just want to post, hey, I'm reading this book. This book is, contributing to my studies, that kind of stuff. I mean, I would just say definitely post and keep up with people.
It's not a social media. It's a professional networking site that you show how smart you are, how well you can write, how much activity you do. You want to reflect on something, you can go back and read my reflection on bridge last year, my reflection on graduate consulting class, my reflection on my trip to India. Yes, Michael, I referred India here. So there's a lot of things. Pretty soon you'll have one coming from my reflection from the bubble, but that sort of stuff, it's important to have that out there so people can actually see who you are. Okay. Branching to another question, because we're squeezing time here a little bit. Is there a certificate or minor you'd suggest pursuing to help in the sport management field? Even if you're a sport management major, what certificate or minor would you would you suggest? Or if you're a tourism person, would it be sport marketing? Would it be something else?
I don't know if there's a universal answer to that necessarily, but I do think that going for a certificate or minor, as you kind of have spent a little time in the major and have refined some of the ideas of what you want to be doing, if you really like events, I'm pretty sure there's an event management certificate program or minor. Like I think Kyle Clay did that or something like that. It's a way, I think, that you can help further your interests and develop yourself more into the area that you want to. But I wouldn't say like right now you need to get an event certificate, because that might not be the side of the industry that you want to do anyways. I think it just some reflection on yourself and talking to your advisors, your professors about your goals, and maybe they can point you in the direction of something that suits you better than just a universal statement.
What's super nice with our degrees that you get a business foundation certificate through Kelly School of Business, which is like top business school in the country. People see that and they're interested in it. And then I would say just a tip would, I think maybe go for something in marketing. Everything's digital nowadays. Er, Like the quickest way people look at an event is online, social media. So if you know how to promote yourself, and that's where social media comes in. If you can promote yourself in a way that's beneficial, if you can, like, if even if you're volunteering, if you can have a creative way to show off that experience, that can really be beneficial.
Yeah, I would say I am personally doing the event management minor, but I would say like my personal recommendation would be event management. But like Kyle said, there's not really a universal answer. But just because like I would say event management because if I get sick of sports, let's say I'm 50 years old, but I don't want to retire and I'm sick of sports, what if I maybe want to go plan weddings? What if I, like having that, they're going to see that and they're going to realize, oh, like she has that degree. So I would say since they do go so hand in hand, event management is a really good one. And I know sports management students automatically get a business certificate. Jenna, you can help me on that because I don't know if all TESM get it, but I know sports management students do. So definitely anything to piggyback off the business. Like I don't think there's a marketing minor because I tried to go for it, but there are lots and lots of options, but do your research. Do your research, see what you want to do. Don't do it because somebody else said to do it. Like even if you want a minor that has nothing to do with sports management, that's okay. There's no rule book that says you have to do one thing.
Yeah, to go off of it not specifically like going with sport management, I know a language, like as time's gone on, having a second language is a good thing to have. It can get you more opportunities. I know a cousin of mine majored, or I don't remember what he majored in, but he had a minor in Spanish and he got the job over someone that didn't because in the community where his job was, there is a lot of Hispanics around. So that was helpful. So even in the sport world, I know if you end up like working overseas, like then that would be helpful to have a language. And then even like if you're in guest relations with the Colts, I know sometimes there may be people that don't speak very good English. So that would help to get the problem resolved quicker instead of trying to figure out what they're trying to say, kind of thing.
And the final question has come in, and it's actually a really good one. I really like this question. So we obviously have preached LinkedIn. We've got the course networking stuff that we do with our classes. Those are forms of social media. How important is it, do you guys think, to have other forms of social, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, I don't even know what's all in Instagram. I don't even know what's all out there now. There's so many. How important do you guys think that is to get ahead in your career or just to be in a specific career?
I think it is pretty important because I'll say, for example, every single intern I interned with at the Colts last year, plus additional managers that I didn't even work with under, I just kind of got to know them. We all follow each other on Instagram, so they get to see your personal life, which is important. Why you don't post anything bad, but they get to see who truly you are as a person because they don't want a robot that's just gonna come in, put in numbers, and leave. You gotta have a little bit of persona with you. You gotta be able to connect. You gotta be able to just like stand out in a way. So I mean, and that's another way of just reaching out to them too. And I mean, that's a short answer, but that's yeah.
A different perspective on that. I actually just deleted my Instagram and Facebook because I didn't like the time that I was spending on the platforms personally. It was more of like a mental health decision thing, I think. I don't know if it will make or break in interview or a job necessarily, but obviously we are in a world where social media is huge. So if you like, it's probably good to know how most of the platforms work. Like I've never really used Twitter, but I've been on it enough to understand it, and something that, you know, if something came up that I had to man a Twitter account for a company, I could, but I don't think that it's vital. And personally, I've enjoyed not having social media for the past few months.
I'm going to piggyback off Kyle because I actually deleted my social media too as a mental health decision after all the negativity that has been coming out, and I just don't want to see it. I don't care. I don't care about your opinion. No offense. I don't have an opinion. That's kind of how I feel. I don't want to see politics. I don't care. But I would say social media is important, but the generation that's going to hire us likes to see face-to-face conversation. So I would say, yes, social media is important. I get that. But like, I have people that will come up to me and be like, you just called someone on the phone? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, nobody in your generation knows how to talk on the phone. Like, you guys just text all the time. And I'm like, no. And then they'll like, I have a lot of people that are impressed with how I can like carry on a conversation. I can talk to whoever I need to talk to. I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm never going to see you again. If I embarrass myself, you can sit with that information. That's not on me. I'm good. Like, I had a good time. But I would say definitely social media is important and you do want to make connections, but the biggest thing is face to face. Be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. It may be awkward. It's okay. They don't remember that kind of stuff. They do not remember it. They remember the content that they just got from you. So that would be my biggest advice is, yes, it's important. Definitely LinkedIn, but like when it comes to like Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, you don't really need that for connections necessarily. You really only need LinkedIn, and then you need to be face to face or a phone call, even if it's just a question or you just want to talk. I'm sure people are so welcoming to that in this industry. But yeah, that would just be my biggest advice is favor face to face over social media.
The number one piece of advice that I would give on that subject is it's a learning tool. Make it a learning tool. Twitter, I follow so many people that teach me something every day, whether it be a writer, whether it be somebody that's in AI, artificial intelligence, whether it be somebody that's in user experience, things that I'm interested in, right? I learn something from them basically every day. Same thing on LinkedIn. Facebook is a waste of my time personally. It used to be good for me because my family was in Florida and I'd share my kids and things like that with them. Now, I don't waste my time on it, right? Instagram is good if you want to share with people what's happening in your life. Keep your account private if you want to. Don't be stupid, but keep your account private if you want to. The good rule of thumb, if you do have, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, whatever, okay, if you are angry about something and you type something out, delete it. Do not post it, cancel it, write out what you want to say, but cancel it. Why? Because the worst thing you can do is post on social media when you're angry. Okay. That's one thing. The second thing is always give yourself time before you respond. It's anything. Think through the words you're going to use, because who knows who's going to see this, share it, screenshot it, you delete it, it still lives. Trust me, I got in a character debate one time in 2013. I had to go back and forth with a guy. I laid it down to him who the man was, but it was not good. So in reality, have them for entertainment if you want them. If you can live without them, don't. Don't have them. It's a personal choice. Mental health right now, yeah. People are writing and saying stupid things. Trust me, I got family members that are going off the deep end right now. And I just look at them and just shake my head. Why do I shake my head? Because I can tell that they're morons, right? They're smart people, but they're morons because they don't think. They don't think about something before they deal with it, right? And their opinion, it's in a vacuum. Nobody cares, right? If you're going to voice your opinion, nobody cares. It's going to get viewed maybe 10 times and people are going to be like, oh, well, who cares what that person has to say, right? So that's a great question that was asked. It's not super important that you have them. If you do have them, it's super important that you clean them up, okay? Get them to a place where they are professional, because the first thing that happened to me before I went to the picture behind me was I had to fill out a form examining every social media I had. And the reason why is because they were looking for any racial comments. They were looking for any comments about Black Lives Matter. They were looking for any comments about the NBA or any of its partners right off the top before they even hired me. Okay, so just think it through. If you want to have it and you want to learn, do it. Privatize it. Keep it private. Don't publicize it to people. Right? You know, just follow the things that interest you and really where you get learning from. Make it useful for you is the top piece of advice I can give. Okay. So I am going to now end the show today. Thank you, Keegan, Kenzie, Michael, Kyle, for coming on. Everybody give them a round, whether it be this way or click the button on the reaction. Okay. They took time out of their day for you. Okay. And connect with them. You know, find a way. If you need me to, I can share their emails and stuff with you, but connect with them. Okay. Kyle can help with the group me. Connect with them because they are great assets and great network contacts to have. Kenzie's well connected. Kyle Clay, you know, is well connected. Michelin's on the other end of the planet from us right now. He's out in California. Taco, he's a good one because he's connected to Grand Park, the Colts, the 11. He's all over the place. Okay. Same thing holds true for all of them. Keegan, the same way. NHRA, anybody's interested in drag racing, call her up. You know, we're connected with Lucas Oil Raceway in multiple ways, and having a student there is one of them. Okay. So take this advice. The tourism students in the room, yes, it was sports centric, but I want you to think about this. And I'm going to leave you with this thought. I want you to think about this. Sit down and think about how sports happen in a city. Okay. Think about what I just went through 62 days down in Orlando. Where was I? A hotel. I was dealing with people in hospitality, right? Think about it. Sport and tourism are intertwined like that of a rope. They are so intertwined with one another. You cannot be interested in the sports themselves, but still be busier than heck in hospitality that's dealing with sports. Okay. So really critically think through that, because in reality, that's what's going to happen. Your career is going to have sports involved with it. Okay. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for coming in today. And thank you. I will see, we are off on Wednesday. I'm giving you the day off Wednesday. You have to deal with me on Wednesday. Okay. Students, the rest of you, you might have to deal with me at some point, but the students in the class, you don't have to deal with me on Wednesday. So you guys have a great rest of your week. If you have questions or anything on the JAG Challenge stuff, hit me up. Okay. I'm trying to get you some Zoom fatigue. I'm trying to get out of that so I don't cause it for you. Okay. All right. You guys have a great rest of your week and stay in touch.